Here's my question then, because everybody says the same thing. They said the coach will dictate it. Well, the one thing I don't think is going to work is a Brian Shaw continuing the triangle with the same team.
But I don't think. Well, You think that? I don't think Brian Shaw's going to run the triangle.
And I'm saying and even if he doesn't, run the triangle, I said, so what are you going to run with the same big man?
Oh, there's a bunch of stuff you could run.
And they're slow. They're slow. They're going to get burnt. The teams that are now fast are going to be even faster.
Like I said, you have a playoff quality team. Slow relative to who? Slow. You're not going to be. I mean, slow relative enough that you'll still make the playoffs.
Yeah, and look at what they're saying.
So I mean, you may not be able to beat the best teams, but so what?
Well, no. Well, if your goal is just to make the playoffs, I agree. But the goal in L.A. is only one thing: get a championship.
Well, that's why I was questioning that goal. Maybe the goal should be to let a new coach come in and get used to the team before you start tearing the team up.
Right, and they're going to do that. They're not going to make moves before then.
Oh, I bet you they do.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think they are going to do stuff before then.
You think before the coach?
I think you certainly may see some.
I see some players
around the same time.
Right. I think there's some unloading of contracts that go, for example.
That's what I'm saying. Mitch Kupchak is going to deal with that.
Right.
First.
I think the part, it's like when you said Luke Walton. No matter how much you say that, and you look at how many years he's been in the league. I asked this question. I said, this is unbelievable. He's 30. And I said, now, at this point, the amount of money he's making, I said, there's some players right there you go like, the value of getting what we need. First of all, everybody agrees with this. Lakers need more athleticism and speed. Either one. It doesn't matter if it's big or slow, big or tall, or small. They need speed and athleticism. They have to make those moves, no matter where the positions are. Right now, if they stay right where they are, Derek Fisher, it can't be your point guard defensively. He can't be it. You only have two cats that's under 30 years old who even come off the bench to play, Shannon Brown and Andrew Bynum. Everybody else is 36, 32, 32, 31, 30. They are old when it comes to speed and athleticism, and they're not athletic. It's like watching Ron Artest yesterday get a breakaway layup, and he misses it.
I agree. And I go, even though that was enough to get one of the best records in the NBA and make it to the playoffs.
Right.
So I keep going. When people argue that's not effective, I go like, what are your standards for evaluating effective?
Right.
They had one of the best records with that slow team and all those things you're saying.
Right.
They had one of the best records in the NBA, one of the longest winning streaks in the season.
Definitely.
And made it to the playoffs.
Right.
So once again, I think, isn't that the point? That maybe slow does win. Slow got this far.
Yeah, I know. No one said.
So what I'm saying.
Well, it depends on what you're going after.
Well, that's why I'm going. In other words, what happens in the NBA is they tend to freak out and want to do these massive changes in order to quote unquote get a championship, which often doesn't take them in that direction.
Right.
Like I said, I'd be curious to see. They can run. They don't have to be slow.
No.
Paul Gasol, that was his thing. And I even question that. I would like to see the influence of another coach. Like I told the person I was debating, you think Derek Fisher can't play in a running offense? I said, come on, let's see that. In other words, I would suggest see how the people step up under a different situation.
Right.
I don't see the same panic, but again, Laker fans being what they are, and thinking that anything short of that. Well, I just don't know that you're going to get there that way. But like I said, let's see.
Yeah, and I don't believe that the fix-all is going to happen next year. I think it's the formula of what other teams have been able to say is, look, we all can't get big. We all plan for this. I think it's a gateway for anyone to win the championship under other conditions. And I think a lot of other teams either said, well, the Lakers are not going to make it. We see their faults. Or they were shockingly surprised to see how badly they collapsed. It's not as much as that they can't win with the talent. No one expected them to collapse so badly.
Well, see, that's why I go, how do you know that it was a function of, we assume that it's a function of certain things when maybe it's not a function of those things. In other words, we assume the Lakers lost because of age, because of speed. And I'm saying I'm not convinced, even though that's what it looked like.
Right.
I'm not actually that convinced. I think a lot more of it had to do with locker room
implosion,
stuff like that, and had the same slow, whatever you want to call it, team played the way that they're supposed to play with the kind of thing. then you would have had a different outcome, and so then the debate would have still been the same debate, but they would still have won.
Right.
They won last year with basically those same flaws. That's my point.
But the difference in stats this year against last year was glaring when they said, look at the defense as it relates to the opponent's field goals and how much is made. They said you definitely see the Lakers have dropped off in comparison to what they allow this year. So we're not saying that they can't win, but it was glaring that their defense took a hit with the same players. So it could be the coach, and I actually think there was something internally that probably fueled it, and I think they can step up to a certain degree. I just think the hard part about this is trying to play. It's very hard when you don't have a true point guard and an aging second guard named Kobe Bryant. And I say, well, you know what? Maybe it's better that you guys get a point person that threatens. Keep the same players. Go Paul. Forget Dwight Howard. Keep Bynum, which they're probably going to say they won't be able to. They'll get leverage because if they get Chris Paul as the point guard that relieves some people, then you can go after another big man. I just think right offhand, the point of attack, I think everybody just looks at it and says, Fisher's not a problem. Offensively, he's your clutch man.
You know what?
That's it. He's not your problem defensively.
I guess because every week the NBA, like NFL, goes to coaching trends. And the trend today is toward a point guard. But I, for one, am one of those people go like, you know what? It's not like every offense has to have a true point guard.
And Lakers survived for years without it.
People talk about that. I go, just because that's the trend.
Right.
And I also go like, Kobe, let's just stop back for a minute.
Right.
Kobe Bryant can't play point guard?
He has.
Well, that's like I said, so have him play point guard.
But it wears him out.
Well, they wear him out.
And then when it wears him, right? So with the problem, you got a man who ages faster on the court. I'm not defending the Lakers. I'm just saying he plays two positions. He has to go. I have to play point and scoring guard. So it's wearing me out way more than people stepping up and playing their positions.
But so many other people do that. Isn't Dwayne Wade playing point and scoring guard?
Or not as much. They get to rotate that. They got their guy. They got Chalmers. They got LeBron.
But I'm just saying. But isn't Dwayne Wade playing point and scoring guard?
Right, but not.
He does play point and scoring guard.
Not required.
So but whether it's required or not, that's what he's playing.
But Kobe is required to handle the ball as a point guard because Fisher doesn't do it.
See, my point is that to me it's interesting how people overstate. To me, they overstate the complexity. It's not. The Lakers didn't step up and play like they should have.
That's what I
think it's more that than all the debate over whether you run a point guard, over whether all the things. I think Derek Fisher can step up and play in any of these situations when asked to do the task a certain way. Okay, and just like they could have defined it differently with Kobe. So I'll get back to the coaching again. As to the individuals, to me, the Lakers had the personnel that could have won. They just underperformed.
And I'm not debating that. I'm saying that Fisher is the kind of player, not faulting him. He is not the kind of player that people come down and says, okay, get ready, he's going to penetrate on you. He doesn't penetrate like a point guard. He's one of the rare guards in the league that doesn't penetrate at all. Right. And that they get to play off of him and say, we now can stay back from Fisher. He's not coming inside. How long can they survive on that? And they've done it for years, which I applaud them.
That's you just answered your own question. How long can they survive on it?
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah, that's true. So
So in other words, to me, I'd get back to the offensive philosophy. You don't have to have your guard penetrate.
Right. You don't have to. I agree.
There's a bunch of teams that play so in other words, that's the matter of the coach again.
Yeah, the coach has to.
In other words, you're supposed to look at your people, change, just like the way they use Paul Gasol.
Right.
You can just use them differently. You can use Bynum differently.
Right.
And a different person in the same place might get a different result by using those same people. That's all I keep suggesting.
Right.
So I feel like Derek Fisher still has a role that he can play, and he'll be on somebody else's team.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think he's out of the league at all. Period. But I'll say this. If I had to look at players and just put 2 or 3 players in the pot for not returning next year, I'm going to probably go a little bit long on this. And it's probably more bench than anything else. I think you can't lose Powell or Andrew or Lamar unless it's a trade. Everybody else, I'm saying Ron, I don't see him coming back. Luke Walton, no. Matt Barnes, no. And I think you lose one of your big men on trade. If when the coach comes in, I still think one of the big men will go.
Well, here's the thing about the ones you just named. Mostly keeping them is a matter of money.
Yeah,
that's you can still they have the greatest potential to stay. In other words, Artest is less likely to be involved to me in any trade. So you have a better chance of him being around because it's mostly money.
Right.
Same thing with the other ones. The people, if you want to trade, if you assume that any trade is to be made, that means that some of the people you just named have to be included because there is no other trade to be made without having Bynum in there. I don't know what trades that you do that doesn't have Bynum in it.
Right.
That's the trade, and not only that, he actually increased his marketability with his playoffs. So if you're going to have a trade, let's put it like this. So it depends how you state the question. If we assume that a trade is likely, then I would say Andrew Bynum is one of the least likely to return.
Right. And
even though I don't think that they should do that, I think that because they may jump to a trade, that he would be the person that they would trade.
Yeah, everybody's saying the same thing. We're all saying the same thing. They know one thing. They said, what is the likelihood that it's a better percentage to stay pat? Stay with what you have. Almost universally across the board, they said, what coach is going to come in and make them go way beyond?
If they keep Brian Shaw, okay, let's say this. If they keep Brian Shaw as coach, to me, you're more likely to have subtle change. I think. I don't know. In other words, if they keep Brian Shaw as coach, you're more likely to keep your starting five. More likely. Even though I think with him, you might just go with running a different kind of an offense. But I think either way, probably Derek Fisher is going to go. Right. But out of the starters.
Yeah.
The bench, I just don't think, Vic, because they just don't play in the trades that much, other than Shannon Brown.
Right.
Shannon Brown plays into the trades. I don't know that Matt Barnes, maybe a little, but I still think Matt Barnes has a good time to play, given. So, I don't know. I think if Brian Shaw stays as coach, you're more likely to have less dramatic change.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting what they're saying about Brian. They're going, they are first going to learn what philosophy are you going to bring to this team. Because if it's going to mimic what you've already been available to with Phil Jackson, that could change who they go get to coach the Lakers. So it's a lot of questions. It's all speculative. And I agree with you. It's going to be some subtle changes based on the coach and maybe Brian Shaw having a familiarity with the players. And I still think there was some internal implosion to a certain degree. And at that moment, they say that the players go dark after a while with the same coach. So maybe the zen is locked up in the cabin.
How many people running, again, offenses and defenses in professional sports are very trendy too, like other things. And we all would kind of agree Phil Jackson is kind of a throwback, right?
He is.
Even Doc and some of them who we like, it's still a more throwback to what is the modern trend of offense, okay? And it's the modern trend of offense where I'm suggesting where you have more physical, more athletic individuals. To me, that's the offense where the point guard isn't quite as important to me in the traditional way. But maybe not, because you still got to lead that offense. I'm just saying, when you got forwards that are running and skying and everybody else, now the whole running thing is So maybe Phil's thing is still a matter of I'm not saying it's not effective. It's just like in the NFL.
It is.
Certain styles of play are just older. And people go to, different ways of doing stuff. Right.
I mean, we could sit here and complain all day long. We say the point guards hold the ball and dribble a lot more than the old days. And we looked at it when it first came in, when the Iverson days and all that, and we said, oh, my God, give up the ball. Kobe came in the same way. But they converted those to championships through the old traditional teams like San Antonio, Boston, and L.A. I said, but the change is coming, even in the style of play.